up there. They were getting all these steel,
We good?
I guess
Ready,
shelving
guys?
and stuff. Like they bought lots, truckloads.
All right, call the meeting to order. We'll start with the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, welcome everybody to the work session, October 7th, 2024, 9:30 a.m. I'll ask the Secretary Treasurer to call the roll.
Yep. Scott Horowitz,
Present.
Ed Warner, President. Chip Marin,
Here.
President. Joe McLaughlin,
Here.
Matt Parsons.
Present.
We're all here.
Thank you. Nice to see everybody. We have some discussions on, we'll get right into business. Maple Avenue, Noyak Creek Boat Launch.
Yeah, I guess I talked with Tim quick on this, and I guess I did too. I didn't realize we were both doing it at the same time, but it's going to be rectified for now. And then we'll have further discussion at another time about all these ramps at the end of these roads.
Well,
We're talking the dirt ramps that
yes.
we've been traditionally maintaining, but not necessarily. I know you're sitting there. Do you have something to say?
No.
You would got to come up if you want to talk. But
I can give you a good summation of it. Basically, these are road ends that have evolved into launching ramps for the local duck hunters, fishermen, kayakers, and people like that. There some in private communities, some in just town roads, and basically working with the past town engineer Walter Bundy on trying to rectify some of these roads with the ability for the public to continue to use them. The town engineer had ideas of putting guardrails on the ends of them with these rock encasements with grass plantings for like a filtering system for the the runoff from the water, and it would preclude everybody from using the roads. And so I went to Walter Bundy when he was the town engineer, and I asked him to evaluate each road in Hampton Bays, especially so that we had a launching ramp and also this mechanism to catch the road runoff. Many of these roads are just basically dirt ramps that the trustees, some of the villages have helped out to put stone and other material there so they don't wash out so readily. What happened last summer is we had a 7-inch rainfall in Noyak, and a lot of the road ends, even with the stone that we placed there, washed out. So I talked to our special counsel, Joe Lombardo, and with the help of the board here, I'd like to make a list of all these road ends and evaluate them, and maybe have some kind of something in our blue book that either us or an IMA with the villages, Ox Pasture and Boatswain's Landing in Southampton, Cove Road and Bluff Point in Sag Harbor Village. So they're multi-jurisdictional territories. So I just
do like a memorialization in the blue book so it makes it clear, especially for the future boards, in terms of what the responsibilities are and what the access points are, because they're not on the general list. They are something historically that's been taken care of, but you want a more formal memorialization.
Yeah, some of them are on our access list, but some of them are just
traditional uses.
Yes,
but not on the list.
So I would like to memorialize them, so that way the public will have use of them in perpetuity.
Is Mounts Point under our purview?
No, that would be the villages, because we switched Shinnecock Road for the Munns Point property, and when Mr. Smith didn't want people launching next to his house, so we, the trustees and the village, but I'll make a list of them throughout the whole town, and everybody else can
If I
contribute.
could just add, it's consistent with the mission of the trustees, which is to encourage and provide access to the water.
Okay.
If we've traditionally been doing it, then we should
Continue.
We should look at it with an eye towards making the facilities something that people will be aware of and use.
Yeah.
So,
Memorializing.
Yep.
And just make the public aware that these traditionally were always access points whereby you usually needed a 4-wheel drive. We're not going to make them puff and perfectly accessible. They're just access to the water, and use at your own risk.
Right.
Yeah, precisely.
But also, if we undertake to do something, we have to undertake to do it in the right way and not create a situation where we might be in trouble. So,
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, we're done with that. We'll move on to Trustee Parsons.
Yes. So I've had a lot of community interests in Shore Road in Remsenburg. We've had Timmy and the crew down there twice this year, most recently last week. because the road, speaking of roads that end in the bay, this roadway is being undermined actively.
This is the one you brought to our attention last time?
Yeah, and since Timmy and the crew went there in the spring, they cleaned it all up, and over the summer, it eroded away enough that there was all these big hunks of asphalt again that the community had been pulling out of the water and piling up in the shore, and it's an ongoing problem. But also the community is concerned that the sand that used to be here is being washed away, and you can actually see it accumulating a little bit to the east. James, if you could go a little bit to the east there, that canal there, they're asking if that sand can get pumped up onto that beach. I'm saying, well, I'll see what I can do. So, I mean, it's kind of like your Fort Pond issue, where it's, the
Oh,
sand is
far, yeah,
Yeah,
yes,
Far-
yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
I don't know.
That could be private.
Could be private.
Yeah.
I mean, now it's private.
We gotta,
The
well,
inside of it is,
we gotta do some research
yeah, you'd have to find out.
and permits and all this other jazz. That's not as easy as it looks.
So,
Well, that's very similar to what has happened over in Shinnecock Hills, just west of Crab Road, between Crab Road and Pawnee and Teepee Street. There's a dug canal, and that's exactly what happened to that dug canal. All the material that was on the beach eventually entered into the mouth of that canal, completely closed it off, and over the last 30 years, it's all wetlands have started to take over there. So dredging that at the one I'm talking about in Shinnecock is it's impossible because there's a wetlands there. It looks like it's very close or almost similar to what
I mean, yeah,
It's
you see
happening.
there's grass.
Is that a
on the northern side.
breakwater right there going?
It is. It's a wooden breakwater. It's kind of dilapidated.
Mr. President? Trustee Parsons, I was copied on that.
Oh.
letter that you got.
Oh, so you want
Okay.
to add to this? Why don't you
I think the
officially?
county owns it.
Good morning, Aaron.
Yeah.
Aaron Tertuni in West Hampton. I'm actually past Commodore of the West Hampton Yacht Squadron, which is just to the far left where you see the tennis court on that aerial
Yep,
photo.
yep.
And I was copied on the communication to Trustee Parsons. So quite familiar with this spot. You're correct. That's a deteriorated breakwater. And what's happening is when the breakwater was intact, it held all the sand in that compartment that extends. If you go a little bit farther west, please, James, you can see there's a compartment by the breakwater of the yacht squadron, and then there was a similar one that came off that point on the right, and that kind of contained that whole beach system in a cell. As the breakwater deteriorated, that's when the sand began leaking around the corner and filling in the channel. So it's from my assessment, and I listened to everything that was said, and I agree. The solution here is twofold. You can't just take the sand, pick it up, and move it because it's going to migrate right back into that channel. And I know people don't like to hear this, but to extend that breakwater a little bit in order to create a stable beach between the two breakwaters and stop the shoaling.
Extend it or repair it?
Repair it.
I mean, extending it is.
No, I mean, just when I say extended, right now it ends pretty much at the shoreline, the new section. You can see where it returns back.
Yeah.
That's the new section, and then where it goes seaward is the old section that really needs to be
I mean, the
repaired.
seaward section is where the leak is.
Yeah.
And I know that when we had a leak in the Shinnecock Inlet.
Yeah.
On the east side, like it was a matter of like weeks, and it just blew right. It sucked all the sand right to the dune line. So
Yeah.
it's probably a similar problem
It's
that's happening
on
here,
a
but it's
micro
just
scale.
on a micro scale because it's the bay.
Do we know who owns that breakwater?
No.
So we got to figure out who put that in on a.
There's a permit for it, because this has been an ongoing discussion long before
Right.
even I was here. It was,
But
like,
that canal
yeah.
is, like Eddie said, might not be salvageable if it's wetlands.
Well, the white colored material is all sand,
Sand.
and then I haven't been back in there in a while, but I'm happy to go back, take some photos, and share them with the board. But certainly the sand could be dredged. If there is wetlands, it can't be dredged. But if it's upland, beach grass, for example, that's not protected.
And how much interest do you have from the homeowners on that creek to
A lot.
actually address this?
A lot.
So they're gonna have to make the charge.
And
we could work
I thi-
with them.
I think the object of Mr. Smythe's letter to the board was, hey, this is a problem. We'd like to figure out how to solve it with you.
Well, we're gonna get a twofold solution. One would be water quality in that dug canal, and second, the environmental benefit and the public benefit to beach renourishment along there.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
having a nice stable beach, because all those last 4 houses, which are private, they're all eroding terribly.
And that breakwater that's currently there that's falling apart doesn't need to be that long.
No, it doesn't need to be that long. In fact, I can work with whomever and get one that's the proper length in order to maintain a stable beach form.
As long as the hole is patched, like
Right.
that's the major.
That's the key.
That's the major issue, the
Yeah.
one that's like right, just seaward of the beach itself is, that's where your problem is.
That's where it's all going. Yeah.
In the intertidal where all the wave action hits in. Yeah.
So thank you, Trustee Parsons, for bringing that up, and I'm glad I was here to add a little bit to it.
Thank you.
And call upon me, and I'll relay to Mr. Smythe the conversation, and of course, if anything comes up in the meantime, please reach out to me or him.
Okay.
Like, you gotta
Thanks,
get
Aaron.
all of them to be like, we want this sand somewhere else. And then it's like, ideally, we have a perfect spot for the sand.
Permitting.
Permitting, time,
But
2 years.
does that also include pumping the sand and they gotta put the building in the breakwater too, probably? Right?
Yeah, we gotta make a
You gotta see
determination.
whose it is.
Exactly, we've got a lot of work to do on that. We can't, you're talking about a big project. All right, you got something else there, trustee?
I do. I want to let everybody know that Timmy and the crew were able to move the floating wetland out of the Jackson Avenue yard. They were able to install it temporarily along the shore at Silverbrook Pond. We've got signage up on it, so we'll be ready to plant it and position it next spring for growth. And if this goes well, it'd be a really good thing, and we could potentially, there was talk about relocating those ones in Mill Pond as well. If this goes well, we'll find a home for them to be there. So, so if anyone has any ideas on species or things that we could do with this floating wetland, we have some time.
Isn't there a whole list of plantings? I know Ann was involved in this when we did the one in Mill Pond, and I think she had a whole list of plantings that they used.
Okay, I'll reach out to her.
Yeah, she should know, because she actually went down and did the maintenance of it, took the dead stuff off of there and cleaned them up a couple of times.
And then originally, wasn't there didn't they work with pickerel on this, as like growth rates?
Chris
Yes.
Yeah,
Nutrients
growth rates based on like how much nitrogen and phosphorus is in the water.
Yep.
That's a good point. You
There's
can
a
see-
whole,
There's a whole study, there's a whole basis on that floating wetland.
the use of it.
The use of it was not just for clarifying the water, it was also a scientific study of quantifying how much phosphorus and nitrogen was in the bay. So like they could base it on growth rates. I believe it was of the roots, but I could be wrong.
You can reach out to Chris Pickle from Cornell.
Chris Pickerel would help you.
Yes,
I'd say that is your first contact.
correct,
What do you want? What should I put in this wetland? And he's super helpful.
correct.
Cool. Yeah, sounds good. So,
Yeah, we're working on several things with Mr. Pickle. All right,
He must be a doctor by
you can call him the doctor. Anybody else? Let's see. We can move right into general permit applications for determination. I have Robert Reichenbach Jr., 15 Romana, Surfside Environmental. I see Daphne's here.
I almost wasn't,
You're almost.
because I didn't see this until 5:15 on Friday. I'm moving my office right now, so
Busy.
a little disorganized.
No good email alerts.
Well, you're moving your office, right?
A little crazy.
Okay. So we want to install approximately 100 linear feet, 7.5 feet wide angled, partial subgrade natural stone and sand to remediate and restore an eroded sand beach in portions of the existing developed property. Shoreline erosion restoration to be comprised of 44 cubic yards of 80% cobble, 20% sand mix, 100 linear feet of 500-pound toe stone, almost 28 cubic yards of 300 to 400-pound stone, and almost 10, just over 9 cubic yards of 8 to 10 inch coarse stone, almost 28 cubic yards of 12 inch deep bedding stone, proposed final grade to be planted with beach grass plugs, 12 inches on center.
Yes, so this is a classic case of unrevetted property stuck between two bulkheads and taking the brunt of storm events to their property. There's actually a photo I submitted with my application that shows some of the effects during storm events. That it's the rack line you can see is very high. It's very close to their swimming pool actually, so it's becoming a detriment to the structures. So we tried to come up with a plan that would mitigate the effects of these storm events, doing like a typical shoreline restoration with varying degrees of rocks and filter fabric, and then covering it over with sand and planting it with beach grass. So we are showing it basically at mean high water and going landward. Right now he's trying to mitigate it himself, and it's not working. He's just got like some buckets there with sandbags and stuff like that. But it's going pretty far behind that fence that you see in the photos.
What's the difference in the grade of the rock wall versus the bulkheads on either side?
I believe it should be, hold on. We have it going up to 5, which is basically 5 feet higher than mean high water. It should be.
No, the original, like currently, what's the height difference between the bulkheads and this wall?
Oh, it's pretty significant. On the what side is that? South side, that bulkhead is higher. That one was given a permit to increase the height, I think by 12 or 18 inches from what it was previously. So that's part of the reason that they're not getting any water on their property. I think the guy on the north side may see a little bit of water, but it's mostly going to my client's property. But you can see in my photos that the bulkhead to the south was taken at low tide. It's pretty significantly different in elevation, where the one on the north side is less significant. So basically what we're planning would be in keeping with the guy to the north, and probably still be lower than the one to the south, but with.
I've seen multiple projects similar to this where you have a new construction, looks like new construction, and you have the town planning board approving the height of elevating of a house, and then the grade is increased, and then it pitches to the one person. I'm guessing that this guy's house is this new construction as well, his house? Or
No.
So it's like his grade has stayed the same, whereas the neighbors have raised the grade.
I don't know if the neighbor had new construction, but both neighbors sought permits from this board for their bulkheads. So now we're facing the problem as the monkey in the middle, trying to.
When you look at this picture, it doesn't look that much of a difference between this bulkhead and the grade of these stones.
Oh, there isn't.
But the other side does.
How are you doing with the other regulatory authorities?
They've all just received. No one has given any.
So you don't know where
comments
you're at
yet.
yet?
No.
When was the neighbors raised? You know, when those were permitted?
Unfortunately, I have that information, but I do not have it with me because I was scrambling to get this together.
The northern property is an old cement wall.
The northern property is a vinyl bulkhead.
You have a picture of it right here, and it's a. That's
beyond the vinyl bulkhead.
Oh. It's a return.
Yeah.
So they just maintain the old return?
to cement. Now, the wetlands that, grasses that are currently there, how are you gonna contend with them?
Well, they're pretty minimal, and they're a result from, obviously, the water sitting on this property longer
No,
than.
I'm talking about the ones that are down further where that's in the bog. There's an old piece of bog here, and you can see
Right.
it very clearly in this picture that, during the summertime, it's, Spartina there, and it's a flourishing wetlands. Are you just gonna cover it up?
Well,
Or
the, can I have my
what is the
phone back?
extent of the project that you're proposing?
I can't.
These are the ones that were in the file, right?
Oh, then somebody else has mine.
Well, I just,
No, these must be mine, they're not stamped. Did you guys stamp everything?
Yeah, they should be.
these aren't stamped either.
Yeah, I don't know. They
Oh,
were,
well,
they were in the file.
I've been at this property a couple times because I had a friend of mine who's a construction person, and he asked me to take a look at it, and, I did have concern because there's wetlands there, that, this project, are you gonna cover them up, which is a net loss of wetlands, and I know the DEC would not be in favor of that, because the wetlands are considerably seaward of where the stone and the fence is.
Well, no, I don't think we would, because I see the bog there. The bog is right in front of the bulkhead line.
I'm asking you where the project, I see, the stones that are currently there are to the south of where the bog is. And that's grass and, it's more of a self-help kind of a situation that he moved some of those stones there. But the material where the cursor is right now, that's what I'm concerned about, that
Yeah, so
wetlands.
that's what I'm saying, is that we would start just landward of that. Everything would come up from there. Yeah, because if you look at the plan,
And the whole project would go behind it? And are you considering any wave reverberation coming off your project that would scour that wetlands out?
I think you're gonna have to go considerably landward of that.
Well, I'm just,
Yeah, I mean, it's like that, to say that you're gonna install major construction,
I don't want
with those
to.
wetlands
Yeah.
there, and you're gonna protect them is kind of a little far-fetched.
well, I'm here to start the conversation because
Yeah.
I
So-
had tried to start
I
it
would say kick it,
behind the scenes,
I would
and
say kick
this
it
was
landward.
the easiest way to get something accomplished.
I would
so
say
I'm here.
kick the wall landward to where the existing rock wall is, personally.
Yeah, I'm glad that you came because this way you've got input from everybody, plus you still have the other regulatory authorities to
Right.
get through, so this is good.
So, yeah, we can move it landward. That's not an issue. It's just, that's why I'm here. We
Yeah.
gave a starting point, and now it's a
No,
matter of
I mean, it
what.
makes a very good point with that wetland, right? I mean, that's gonna stop you, and we're not gonna be the only ones that say no.
I mean, if you go down there now, you're going to see there's a flourishing wetlands.
Yeah. So I would say kick it landward to almost where the existing wall is, raise the grade of it, and raise the grade equal to that of the highest bulkhead. I don't know. Does anybody else have any ideas on
Now,
it?
the property that you're working on, what is the elevation of that property is it considerably lower than the adjoining properties? Because as I remember being down there, it's kind of like almost like a bowl.
Yes.
So if you raise up the seaward end of the property with a rock revetment, and you get overwash, you're gonna have a pond,
Yes,
which
that
is,
is another concern.
That's a real
that we
mess,
have.
yeah.
that's, it's almost kind of,
And that
Productively.
becomes a blowout sometimes, doesn't it? When it
yeah.
does that? Yeah.
And also you're gonna get to your neighbors, it's gonna go off to the sides and could cause some,
Well, not if they're higher still.
yeah, depends how much water builds up there and how much elevation you have of the rock revetment. If the rock revetment is higher than the adjoining property owners, then the water's gotta go somewhere.
Right. And that's why my client is feeling the brunt of the issue right now,
Yeah.
because it's got nowhere to go, and it's probably eroding out their property in the process. So,
Well,
I
according to that picture, the neighboring property is quite a bit higher. It looks like they increased the grade when they did the bulkhead, the top picture.
Yeah,
But it wasn't, these,
So you're gonna have to get some elevations of the adjoining properties and see if you can, I mean, obviously, this would be an upland detail of whether you could level the grade of that property equal to that of the other ones when you do this project, but that would be out of our jurisdiction.
That's
Well, but the whole,
a concern.
right, see, the whole thing is, you know, where you're starting, still being in our jurisdiction. Obviously, we're not looking to build a bulkhead that's not made out of, you know, vinyl or what have you.
Right.
You're looking to attenuate the wave action and lessen the erosion, not create an issue with the wetland that's already existing seaward, right? And you also don't want to be pushing water, you know, to either one of the
Right.
property owners. So it's critical that you get, that you check all these boxes and you get an elevation that's gonna, you know, not create those issues or not do harm to the existing wetland. So I mean, stopping water from getting totally on that property is gonna be difficult, but I think the fact that they, you know, you could lessen the effects of that occurrence is really what the key is, I think you're
Right.
trying to achieve. So I
Yes.
think, you know, is to go back to the drawing board a little bit, factoring in what the concerns of the board, you know, what they are, what you've heard here from everybody, all good, valid points, and at the same time, as you're aware, balancing out the requests from everybody else that's gonna have a request or an opinion or suggestion on this from the other regulatory agencies.
Daphne, did they have a prior consultant that they were working with?
I don't know.
I remember someone else coming before us with this conversation. I believe it was on this property. Am I right, James?
I'm not sure either, but I think you got a good conversation start. I think you got a little work cut out for you in every direction, but I think you got some good direction here now in terms of what the concerns.
James, do we have a GIS map going back a couple of years on that property? Just to see how it's eroded, yeah, see, yeah.
Flip it back. That was right after the hurricane,
Yeah, it's getting scurred out, yeah.
right after the hurricane.
But my client is basically, you know, now seeing what month it is, going, oh geez, we're in for another year, and he's
Right.
like, you know, nobody wants to wake
But
up
you're-
and see.
Yeah, you're not gonna block it all
Water
out
that
like it's a
close.
bulkhead made out of stone. You're just gonna lessen, you know, the creep, lessen that erosion.
Unless you elevate the whole property, you're gonna see water right almost up to the pool. That's what's gonna happen. Because if you put a rock wall there without putting some elevation of the upland between the house and that rock wall, you're gonna have that water it's gonna come.
That's gonna push outside of our jurisdiction.
Yeah,
Right, so then how am I, dealing with that? Am I
Well-
getting a permit from you first?
Well,
and then
that's your-
following?
yeah,
Strategy.
I would work with us
I
and,
would find out whether you can raise the elevation of the property before you go spending the money on increasing the bulk on the stone, because like Ed said, it's kind of useless.
But I don't see, but they really don't have an option though. They have to find some way to mitigate the
Something
continued
has to
erosion.
go,
They
correct.
have to
Yeah.
mitigate that erosion. They've got to attenuate that wave energy to preserve as much of their property as possible without creating the concerns of this board. So I think that that's a good starting point. But the thought process, thinking that you're gonna block all that water out, I don't see that as a possibility, right? So that being said, you know, take what everybody said and kind of try and redirect that at the same time, try and get feedback from the others, right? That way you're not, you know, spinning your wheels all over the place here.
I think the DEC is gonna have concern with it because of the wetlands being seaward of the project. So you'd have to really make that project, almost soften it up so, you know, you get rid of the wave, the reverberation going back so it doesn't wash the wetlands that is currently out of the area or out of there.
Or plant more wetlands,
Well, that was what I was just gonna
Yeah,
say, is
would
what
that-
if
would
there
that
was
be-
It's
like,
the bog stops halfway down the property.
Because what
The peat bog, so that's why it's still there. When you get south of that,
yes,
It's
Right,
like-
so that's not gonna work out very well
Is it
in
gonna
reality.
stay? Is
It's
the
not gonna
question.
stay.
Right.
It's not gonna stay. Okay, it's not. You make all the drawings you want. I
Well,
just don't see it working out. But
Not only that, last year we had an unrealistic amount of easterly winds. It was like 3 times a week we had an easterly windstorm. So that, from the Ponquag Bridge to your client's property, that's the fetch that you have to look at every storm. And it was like one after another, after another,
Right.
after another. That's why they suffered such bad erosion there.
I think that there has to be realistic
Well,
expectations.
I think we can work on a project here, just, I think you've gotten some notes here, so
I think you got good feedback from everybody.
Does she have any others on?
I have 3
And,
others.
and
All right, so we'll hold this one.
Transit by-
Hot seat.
We're holding this one, obviously. You wanna do her others?
Yeah.
You have Thomas, no, you have
I have,
Ocean View.
Ocean View.
yeah, so these are all, very different, very interesting projects that I have here today. So Ocean View X, this is 16 Ocean View Drive in Shinnecock Hills. The, property is part of Shinnecock Beach Road, so I'm here because, I believe you have full jurisdiction over everything that happens in Shinnecock Beach Road.
Correct.
Right.
So, my client is redeveloping the property and, I submitted something last on October 2nd. Just wanna make sure you have the, yes, that's the right one.
October 3rd, yes. Yep.
They're reconstructing their existing residence, but with that, there's a few things that are already existing in Shinnecock Beach Road that they'd be removing. This is all on the northern side of the easement. This is also a slope, as most of them are, so it's at the highest parts of the slope where they would be removing some wood steps and decking. There's a wood tie wall that they would like to rebuild in place. There's new steps that will be accessing the new residence. The main things is that there's an existing wood walkway that goes down toward their existing legal bulkhead and deck with access stairs.
Yep.
So they're gonna maintain the deck with the access stairs, but they would like to remove the wood walkway that kind of hugs that westerly property line. And they're planning a new, somewhat meandering walkway that's going more east down the grade from where they'll be exiting the property, because there's a pool that's going to be put in on that westerly side. So instead of hugging the pool and going straight back to that existing walkway, they would like to come off the side of this little grass area. And then there's a pool enclosure fence that we're also putting as close into the easement as possible.
So when you say remove the walkway, is it a wooden walkway currently, and they're gonna replace it with a wooden walkway?
Yes. At grade.
And they wanna move it?
They're gonna take out that straight, that
Straight
angled
run,
part, and it's gonna come more from that turf area that you see off the left side and kinda go
Yeah.
down the slope.
Yeah, Chip. It's like meandering, I
And
guess.
the old ones permitted
Yes,
already?
That I don't know.
You can say yes, but
I believe they did a covenant, when they redid all of this stuff a number of years ago. Well, it was the prior owner, did one of the covenants for the easement.
Sand agreement, sand punishing agreement?
No, for, just to what is that?
legitimize?
Yeah, to
Yeah.
say that they know they're within the easement.
Okay.
and that-
Can you get us the paperwork so we can
It
have
should be in the package. I don't have it with me, maybe I do, hold on,
How long ago was it?
couple of years, not that long. I should have a copy here.
I don't.
2019,
2019. I was on the board, yeah.
there was,
2019,
More than a couple years.
The size of that deck was already approved to sign?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, because the
Building
survey that
department.
goes with it shows exactly what's there right now. Do you have it in yours? You can have my copy if you want.
We have a certificate of compliance in 2021.
Oh.
There it is. See, I don't have it.
You should have it.
I don't see it.
I definitely submitted 2 copies of it.
Right, so as long as it's consistent with what
Maybe
the
this
board
is
did
it?
in the
No.
past, because, you know, as of like current, it seems like we're trimming down the size of these landward decks. I mean, these landward decks on the bulkhead, correct then?
Yes,
So,
especially the ones right on the water.
Well, so the purpose
Oh,
is
I
to
don't
keep
have-
that in its entirety and not even touch that. It's just the walkway going to.
Oh, here
the
it
upland
is.
walkway is the one you wanna change?
Yeah.
Well, that's out of our jurisdiction.
No,
Well,
it's
it's not
should have
because
the
it's
trail.
within the easement.
Yeah,
Should have beach road.
yeah, we have the agreement. Daphne, I have it.
Oh, you do?
It's not in the regular folder, it's outside. So
there, though.
we'll let our attorney look it over and make sure.
I actually have met with Joe on this.
Yeah, I was just coming up to,
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll give this to you.
yeah, Daphne's
As
been in,
long as this is anchored, I know Ed's gonna kind of mimic what I said, as long as we know that this deck that's there existing is
Anchored down?
anchored down and properly attached, so we're not gonna see it in the bay, in a northeaster. I don't
It
have
is a
problem
pretty high
changing the-
bulkhead.
Yeah,
It
Yeah,
is
it
a,
is
it's a
high
pretty high bulkhead, so it's not gonna be like some of the other ones, but it has to be built properly.
yeah,
There's
just,
10
just
steps to get up there, so it's pretty high.
for the record, Daphne and I have been consulting about this for months, so it's pretty well vetted, and I've spoken with you a few times about it as well, Ed, so I think everything was at the point where she could then file
Okay.
the application for the work.
No, I remember.
Yeah, so the only reason that I had submitted this revision is because they had some landscape architects come in, and that's where they got into this change with the walkway, and they needed a pool enclosure fence, so we wanted to show one,
Okay.
so that there's no issue with what they're proposing within the easement.
Yeah, this is where it starts to get east of Atterbury Road and it gets pretty,
Yeah, it
Steep.
starts to get steeper and
Yes,
steeper.
yeah. Yep.
Each one, actually, it goes to the east, it gets steeper,
yes, correct.
yes.
All right, so we move this ahead with, Joe's looked at the agreement and everything, so we're good. All right,
advance it, yeah,
This one you can advance.
but
We do need stamp plans for this.
Okay.
And probably,
Now,
side
does-
profile for the stairs.
Yes, so we'll need some more stuff, so we'll advance it pending receipt of.
So you want, elevation of the walkway,
stamp plans.
and stamped by the landscape architect is okay?
that should suffice, right?
Architects, that way.
Yeah,
Yeah, design professional, that's what.
Yeah.
Okay.
either one or the other, so,
Yeah.
yes. So,
Okay,
Next,
so next I have a dune walkway on, Flying Point Road.
Thomas Walker.
Yes.
I drove down the beach on this one, just to clarify on this, this is the old buddy, this is the old steel bulkhead, this is one of those.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I noticed towards that end, and I didn't get a good look at it, there was, about where that property is, there was a lack of maintenance of the dune in front of the steel bulkhead, and there was no snow fencing. I'm not saying that it was this property, but all the adjoining properties next to it wasn't there an agreement that
Yeah,
you had to maintain the
Yep.
dune in front of the
every
bulkhead?
spring it needs,
Okay,
yeah,
I also
valuable.
didn't see any walkways going down in front of the bulkhead. This would be the only walkway that has a staircase.
Really? Cause there's we mimicked this off of a permit
I
from
could be wrong,
somebody
I mean, I
else
was driving quick, but
that way,
yeah,
to the west.
yeah, to the west, I mean, I don't know how far down the road you are in this to where
I
the,
think that guy right there has stairs, yeah.
yeah, that's stairs.
we kind of mimicked our plan off of what was approved for that.
Okay, and that's the only set of stairs on that, correct?
No, I think there's others. Again, I don't have my research.
Everybody else
because,
seemed to kind of just, yeah.
Quite honestly, my client wants to do something as minimal as possible. She doesn't really want.
I know it was
anything
gorgeous what they
elevated.
had
Becomes a
before.
liability.
It was gorgeous what was there before. I was surprised she even wanted to change it.
Well, the thing is that they're planning to elevate the house.
Yeah.
We have coastal erosion application in with the building department and planning. So the plan is to elevate the house to be FEMA compliant, maintaining it as 1 story, and then this way the walkway would come right off of the house over the dune.
Rather than the old kind of like natural
Well,
looking.
Basically, right now it's a sand path and they have a roll-out walkway. But
Yeah.
I don't know that you guys want that anymore.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah. I love the simplicity of the rollout walkway, but as far as this the steel bulkhead there, first we have to make sure that there is a dune management plan in front of this.
There
piece
isn't
of
an
property.
agreement, I think it's
There's an
7
agreement and
homes. 7
somebody's
homes.
failing the agreement. Oh, I don't know if it's that piece of property, a piece of property just to the west. Everybody else has snow fence and everybody else has the steel bulkhead covered up, and there's one stretch there where it's the steel bulkhead is showing up and we're in October, so.
Well,
It's
they
gonna be
usually do,
problematic.
Yeah, it's
they
gonna be
usually,
problematic
they usually do
going
the
there.
sand maintenance at
Yeah.
the very end of the winter season, just before plovers show
No,
up.
I understand, but some people are
Yeah.
making an effort and some people aren't.
Yeah.
Some people have snow fencing, some people don't. So some people have dune grass, some people don't. I don't know which. I was just driving from checking the cut, so I don't know. I'm not accusing this homeowner of it. The other thing is
Well, it's good to point out the
Yeah.
fact that people are not maintaining that, because that what exacerbates the issues.
the issue, and then the other is
I can see some snow fence in one of my photos.
you might be in the clear. I'm not. I
Now,
just
he's
want to
saying
make
it's
sure.
not necessarily this property,
Yeah.
he's noting that some others
Some
in the
others
stretch
adjacent to it are not.
add to the erosional issues when that wave energy is pounding.
And you
the
said
steel
this is
bulkhead.
gonna, as I remember quickly when I looked over this application, it's going to be a removable stairs, correct?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Because that stretch is, there's a good chance you're gonna lose them no matter
Yeah.
what, so.
Yeah, so basically they would take them out every year and put them up by the house.
That's good.
So.
Can you show the bulkhead on your plans? Would it
We,
be possible?
oh, in my plan? Oh, it's on the survey.
Well,
I know
technically,
we
it's supposed to be
updated
covered
the
up.
survey to show it. Yeah, the bulkhead, you can't see it right now. Yeah, I mean, we can add that to our plans.
Might be helpful just to see, how much,
There's
Seaward,
nothing left.
seaward
how
of the,
far away it is.
There's nothing left down there, we're down to almost where it was, we're down to the bulkhead again.
yeah, but having it shown there, that's a fixed
I got
point,
Mr. Aaron
so.
Juni, and I had a
when
feeling that he has I didn't want to, I almost was going to reach out, but I figured I'd let you just sit there and listen.
Oh yeah,
but-
we got a little bit of pumpage going on, right?
Yeah, Aram Tertunian,
Yeah.
this time on behalf of the Bridgehampton Watermill Erosion Control District. December 1, this board recently approved a permit, and that beach is going to get a lot bigger.
The
Okay,
beaches, but what about the dune?
Well, that will provide the opportunity for the snow fence and thus the dune.
Yeah, I mean, they could be snow fencing now. What I'm getting, I understand. I do the sand project, so that's why I'm not in a total panic. Because what has happened there, and I have had an adjacent homeowner approach me because of the Mecox, the conservation, and they were blaming the cut on the sand going in the cut. So I was like, the cut was closed long before the stern. The problem now is that the grade, as you know, because you're doing most of the surveying, the grade is pitching towards the dune.
Yeah.
And what's happening is if we get a storm surge, it's going over and then making basically the kiddie pools like we used to have, and it's wiping the dune out.
Right.
So the problem is the grade is reversed, inverted almost. So I'm sure when you pump sand, that's going to help and mitigate the issue to get the grade back to slanted towards the ocean.
Correct.
But like I said, there's still a lack of effort by some homeowners in front of that steel bulkhead to try and maintain a dune.
Understood, and
Yeah.
hopefully this will give them some
Incentive
incentive.
to possibly be
Yeah.
like, yeah, maybe we want to try and protect it. So I would,
Well, I think they would do the project after the sand was
yeah,
pumped on the
that's
beach.
when I would do the project.
So you can get a good, you can really evaluate what's going
Yeah.
on there.
And I'll be, keeping this board up to date when that project gets underway.
I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
I was looking at you sitting there, Aaron. I didn't want to put you on
So
the
we just
spot.
have to, basically everybody on the board has to agree that we're fine with an elevated walkway. And we want to make sure that the staircase is in fact removable. And then,
What's the railing situation like on that? Is it,
We're only
No
showing
railing.
them at stairways, I
Okay,
think, aren't
that's
we?
good.
Oh, no, we took them off.
No,
had
they're
them-
showing some,
We had them
somewhere else.
minimally at first and then we just removed them.
So
Minimal.
Yeah, you
it's,
saw that.
it's
Really is
consistent to
long.
what we've approved before and along these.
yeah, is there any way we can draft in it that the dune in front of the bulkhead is going to be made, once the project is final, that the dune is gonna be there in front of the bulkhead?
Well, we can't do that until they do the beach nourishment and then they evaluate it. And there's already an agreement with the.
There's already an agreement with those homeowners,
Yeah, so I think we're covered on that.
Covered there, all right.
Yes.
They do have snow fence, it is actually on the survey.
Okay.
And this survey was recently updated.
And then as far as how far out that, I mean, obviously, if the dune keeps increasing there, and people keep growing the dune out, then what happens with that stairway? Is that stairway gonna be able to go out farther, or how's that work?
Well, we can't, putting it out further and then you get a storm and then the
No,
sand
I know.
moves and then all of
I
a sudden you
understand.
can't get.
I mean, we're just right up to the bulkhead is what I'm getting
D-
at, like
yeah.
right there.
Well, it's almost like a pier line in the bay. How far out do you want to go? And then you get a storm and then the beach gets washed out and then you can't get around it and
I'd
so,
love to see a dune there, but yeah,
yeah, well,
that was years ago when there was pines up there, so.
I think we should go with what's proposed here now and then
Yeah,
once it's, it's gonna be removable, so it's not gonna be a wintertime issue as far as beach driving access, but and reevaluate it. If it needs to be, tweaked a little bit, I'm sure your clients will come back and we can revisit it.
So we'll add the bulkhead to the plans,
mhm.
Yes.
and then you're saying you're okay?
Is everybody okay with a raised bulk?
Yeah. I think it's consistent to what we've
Yeah.
approved before.
I like that it doesn't have a railing.
And stairs are removable.
Yes,
So,
That's part.
yes.
Especially in that stretch.
Okay.
all right, you
Problem.
good?
Big project.
Last one, this is
Get
a
stamp
redo.
plans.
Yeah, we had some soundings.
Yes.
Yeah. So you submitted the soundings.
Yes,
Okay.
and they should be sufficient
Okay.
to what you were seeking, that they're both over 3 feet, 3.5 feet. So,
We had no problem with the ramp or the dock, so it's good.
yeah,
I'm good,
so,
I'm good with it.
so this one should be okay then, for stamp plans
Okay.
as well.
So we got everything we need then.
So it's 4 feet was the depth, right?
It's 3.5 on one corner
Sorry,
and
3.
3'8"
I meant 3.
on the other.
Great.
So, okay, so I'll get those plans,
Thanks.
stamp plans. Okay, great, so, 3 out of 4 ain't bad.
Yeah, the other ones, you got a lot of work to do on the other one, the other regulatory things.
No, I appreciate the feedback.
You had some good direction.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Have a good day.
You
Catherine.
too.
All right,
Happy Monday.
let's go back up to where we started here. Land use ecological for Richard Chiavarelli at 38 Benita.
Hi, guys.
Good morning, Chuck.
I think this has been looked at before by the board. It's a reconstruction of 333 feet of bulkhead. There was a problem with some docks that were not permitted. So at last conversation, those floats are going to be removed and replaced with one 6 by 20 float up against the bulkhead, parallel to the bulkhead. And all the existing brick patio and stone patio, they're gonna be basically taken up and sloped, away from, the bulkhead, but reconstructed and sloped away.
I sent you a picture of this one last
And,
weekend.
Yes, you did.
And again, I think this is based on the conversations of the board, so.
Right, cleaning up the illegality. and getting
Yes, yes,
Just
illegality
working
is not a good thing.
No. No, it just creates a big problem
Yeah.
for everybody.
The, behind the bulkhead, is it gonna be the stone splash pad
Yeah.
that's currently there?
Yep.
It looks like
Well,
that's even taken a beating, then it has the size of, softballs and footballs.
Yeah, no, they'll be, 10 foot wide, gravel.
Stone and gravel.
I mean, that's a real tough area there.
It is.
The existing patios are gonna be reconstructed in kind and sloped away from the bulkhead, but the
But they're
rest
gonna
is
be
gonna be
ripped up.
10-foot,
Right,
10-foot sandy gravel.
Okay.
and that's about it.
All right. Good with it.
I'm also here, with Steve Ryder, which is last.
The plans are stamped.
So we're good to
We
move
have
it
no
ahead?
plans.
So we advancing.
The last, on the agenda is, Steve Ryder, who's here.
Do you want- Just making sure we're advancing that last one.
191 Long Neck Boulevard?
It's Scott's.
Thank you.
All right, so this one. Okay,
This is in Matt's area.
Mr. Matt Parsons.
Yes. Yeah, we've been working on this quite a bit.
Yeah, I think it's,
Mhm.
Steve's a very old friend of mine.
Good.
From very long.
Yeah.
You know.
look that old.
Yeah, well, I'm older, yeah, sure, but,
65.
he, you know, first got, into rebuilding dunes when no one was doing it, you know, on a fire island, and, you know, crazy stuff. But anyway, I know he's had a problem with Mr. Shea on how to configure, his house that was built.
We have a 2004 covenant that my wife and I signed, and it stated on it that the boardwalk which you approved would stay there, 4 foot wide, walk along. It mentions the boat lift and even a boat cradle, which is no longer there. And so I'd like to keep the boat lift
And the light poles.
and the light
And
poles.
the light bulbs, you know, and then Marty had a problem with the light bulbs.
Mhm.
So we were trying to kind of separate what was in his jurisdiction and what was in your jurisdiction. You know, that canal is, I believe, you know, I mean, obviously, everybody's got lights.
Are they dark sky compliant?
I'm sorry?
Are they dark sky compliant? Because we had an issue in Fort Pond where the neighbor put lights up and it was permitted by our board, but that was prior to the dark sky compliant lights. Basically, the lights have to go down. He had the lights shining in his neighbor's.
No, they have. had a problem
And
in my
that was
house
a
like
problem.
We had that problem in other areas.
Yes.
That were,
And, yeah,
we've had that in other
They
So-
were
areas.
put up in 1998. I hardly ever have them on, but that being said, I would change them if they weren't.
Just change it to dark skies compliance.
Right.
yeah.
I would
So-
absolutely change
That
them.
legislation.
They're so old now that I wouldn't even mind changing them.
Right,
Yeah, but
just say that, you know, that butters it up, you know, like makes it look, that you're trying your best.
I just don't want to trip if we're getting off the boat after. the
Yeah.
boat.
I think,
That's a good point.
yeah. I mean,
add that to the cover sheet.
well, if you're gonna do that, then you're gonna have to.
I have no problem.
You'd be inconsistent with what the
Well,
town generally does
you
anyway,
know,
so you gotta stay dark skies.
Also, I would suggest you need a town electrical permit.
Well, of course you do, that's,
That's open right now. We have an open committee.
Yeah, of course you do.
We're working on it now.
So, the covenant that you're speaking of in 2004, correct?
Yes.
We haven't seen that, right? Yeah?
No.
You just
Matt
came up.
Parsons saw it and your attorney saw it.
Joe.
you saw that, Mark?
No, Joe.
No,
no,
Joe, you saw
We
it?
met with Joe.
Once again, I think Joe.
So the light posts are on our prior permit.
Yeah.
It's just we would be now, making them dark skies compliant.
Yeah, I mean, that's, certainly that would be a good condition to put on. But we did have a meeting with trustee Parsons, Mr. Ryder and myself
Yeah.
So we would not be running
Yeah.
afoul
No,
of
we're
the
not running
covenant
afoul.
that he signed. We would actually be going a step further to what
Correct.
we did
Correct.
with the dark skies
Right.
So we
legislation.
keep the boat lift, correct? That's cool.
The boat, yeah.
And
It's
then,
on there, and there's a cradle on there, which is no longer there. I don't even have that boat, so I got rid of the cradle.
yeah, that's great. I mean, I think getting the boats out of the water is a good idea, but that's just me. And then the
Yeah.
4-foot walkway is.
Yeah.
That was
all
all.
good.
No more boats.
Pros and cons, yeah, right, he's done with
They
boats.
sink.
He's finished with boats, he has a
Done and retired.
personal
4 foot,
situation.
yeah. 4-foot wide walkway is on there, correct?
My recollection, but don't,
It
don't
is.
don't
It's on
quote
there.
me.
It's on there,
everything.
okay,
It's on
yeah,
the cover.
yeah. I'm just saving you the next
Yeah.
mess.
Marty didn't ask for the 4-foot wide board to go away. He didn't ask particularly for
It
that.
was only the lift and the lights he was having?
Yeah, and he wants me to put a fence. he
Yeah,
wants me to buy
I have a
something
question
over
with
the
that,
fence.
because Marty lately has asked that fences going down to the water, and I can see if it's the high water, natural shoreline and everything
Yeah.
else, to keep a wildlife corridor. But, you know.
Well, you need
things
5-foot
like
pass and repass.
Right,
There's also
right, but on a
access to egress,
canal,
but that's
Yeah.
what it is
like
now as well,
this,
yeah.
what happens is the people's dogs would, you know, go.
Well,
and
he wants to keep
kids.
them back? What
He
are you
wants the
saying, he
fence
wants them
back,
down there
right?
or back?
No, he wants to remove them.
Well, because
from-
generally speaking, and I hate, I don't mind dancing, I don't like people stepping on my toes, and I don't like to step on theirs.
Right.
But the thought is, anything that's seaward of where they're taking that line is like a no-no.
Right.
So if it's a structure that's seaward of that area that he has jurisdiction
Yeah.
on, it's generally,
Oh, I know that's
No.
what he does.
That's what it
It's
is.
just like when, the
That
neighbors go.
was the question that trustee Parsons asked me to sit in on the meeting, was just to make sure that this board really could have the jurisdiction and had jurisdiction, so.
No,
And,
and I
there
get
are
what
ins-
Yeah, good
and there are
neighbor, good
instances
fence,
where the
make a
fence
nice-
goes right to the bulkhead. So we would put a self-latching gate, so,
Right.
if you had a dog and someone broke down and they wanted to move their boat from point A to point B, that they could go up on your bulkhead and just walk the boat, that was the whole reason
I
for
mean,
that.
that's not a bad idea. Is the gate an answer here that can solve all
well,
our?
you need
all our
you need
Well, that's what I've
safety,
asked for on
Well, Marty
many.
wants no fence.
because it's seaward of his line that
Right,
he takes, and he
I
doesn't want to have any
understand that.
structures there. And
Nobody understand, but we as a board, this is our jurisdiction now, correct? This 10 feet.
Yes.
So
well, but
us as a board, are we allowed to say that we agree with a gate for this application?
I would throw a gate in. But there's a fence up against both sides.
So long as it exists.
Gate to
We're
within
going,
the area
but
of
we're
your
going property
jurisdiction,
by property.
You can ask
We're
for
not
whatever
taking
you
on the
want.
whole neighborhood.
Oh,
As a
yeah, no,
condition.
I know, it's just like
And
on
the town
the
would be
canal, makes no
powerless
sense,
to
because,
prevent it.
everybody.
it goes back to the dance.
And you're not gonna have a
it's like-
wildlife corridor or anything either.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody's fence goes to the bulkhead.
Right,
He's just
exactly.
probably the new kid on the block that says, I
Right.
wanna upgrade my bulkhead, correct?
No, I wanted to get a permit to build my house, and this all came because of
Okay,
that.
so, but what I'm getting at is you're the guinea pig.
Exactly.
Okay, so
Exactly.
he's the guinea pig of what every other homeowner on this creek is up against
Mhm.
in the future. Okay, and judging by the area that his house is in, I don't see a problem with a fence to the water line with a gate that is accessible and can be opened.
Absolutely.
As long as pass and repass is maintained.
You have a safety ladder on this boat?
Excuse me?
Safety ladder there? On the bulkhead.
There's a ramp.
Oh.
Well, somebody falls in.
If
Oh, there's a
someone
ramp
falls
to the
in,
floating dock,
Yeah, I mean, if you got a floating dock.
you have to get on the floating dock, and the floating dock is coming out for the winter, staying in for the
No,
winter.
it stays in. I
Six.
built it.
6x20,
No, it's 5 by 20.
5x20.
It's no big deal.
It's just,
Yeah,
people,
well, I
you've
put a
seen,
ladder on it.
you see people, flip kayaks over in areas and they're trying to figure out, they can't get back on.
Even
and
getting
they're
on a
trying to
floating
get-
dock is difficult.
They want to get up.
I can't.
I could put a ladder off one end of the dock.
It's always good to have safety ladders,
It is.
Especially for liability purposes.
So we just gotta basically, we're okay with the 4-foot walkway, we're okay with the boat lift, we're okay with the lights as
Yep.
long as they're
Dark skies
compliant.
compliant.
And,
The fence.
the fence is where we're all, it kind of
The
seems
funny-
like we have a little
The
different.
funny thing is Christian, let's see, the building inspector, Chris, forgot his last name, Chris and something, and Dave and Angie too. They came out and said, Steve, you gotta have that fence to the bulkhead and even over the bulkhead where the edge of the bulkhead is, and it's gotta be 4 foot high because of the pool. So I did that. I made sure, the fence was already there,
Yeah.
but I extended it to 1 foot to go
Oh
over
my
the
God,
top
so
of the
you
bulkhead.
have, now you're in between two agencies in
Exactly.
the town when you're trying to comply with the safety
And
of the
that
pool.
same fence was there when I bought the place in '96. I didn't.
So
touch
there's
it.
no additional, like, landward of the buffer
Wow.
going the other direction, to totally keep
So
that
he's-
pool
you're
safe,
trying
is
to
what
keep
you're
kids
saying.
out of your pool, and then you got somebody that says you gotta
So
remove
the
the
neighbor,
fence.
the neighbor's got a nasty dog, you know, or your dog takes off if there's no fence.
And that's before the insurance company gets
I
there
don't
from a
want
safety
the board, I don't want the
perspective and
board
starts
to be
asking questions.
susceptible to the lawsuit of a pool, of changing the fence because there's a pool in the yard personally.
Actually, they also had me go into
You
my
need a
neighbor's yard.
self-launching fence for a pool.
Dave,
Yeah.
Angie had me go into my neighbor's yard. He has a 6 foot high wood stockade fence, and the middle rail, he had me cut 45-degree blocks on all the middle rails, and I got permission from my neighbor to do that, so that nobody could step there and jump over the fence into the pool,
Right.
even though my neighbor has a pool. And we're on a 6 foot deep fence.
I want the gate.
Yeah, well,
If
she's
there's
gotta
a pool in the
follow
yard,
the
I want it.
regulations.
Yeah, I know that. I did it. I did it without.
It's in your application, you gotta modify your plans. first.
Yeah.
I'll do it.
And then you're done here.
Right.
So you'll have to-
So you got those conditions, James, that have to be in there?
Dark skies and a gate, right? Okay.
Safety ladder?
Safety ladder.
And the water's all good, like, we don't have a problem with running, I mean, do you have water out there, fresh water?
Yes.
That's all, that
That's-
doesn't tie
that's-
us up?
no.
Doesn't tie up him with the building department or anything?
No.
I'm just trying to cover your bases.
I agree with you. It's gotta get
Just
some
make sure
facility,
you
know?
do it, you only wanna do this once, make sure you're okay.
No,
Precisely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And every 20-something people on that canal have the same things. They have
No,
like
I know,
safety-
but you're the
yeah,
guinea
yeah,
pig.
Yeah.
You're, you're the
As a
one
matter of
that's, you're
fact,
taking
we have
the
a canal
hits, so.
association along with.
Yeah,
well,
as long as you,
canals.
like, cause you need an
aware.
electrician in order to do this,
I was
yeah, as
past
long as,
president.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm just trying to cover your
Great.
bases,
Thank
yeah,
you.
alright,
Thanks, guys.
thanks.
Appreciate it.
All right,
All right.
that's all you have for today?
That's it. I'm out
Okay,
of here.
buddy.
Need your driver's license?
Oh, sure, sure.
All right. Let's go to First Coastal. Penniman's Point Limited Partnership at 36 Second Neck Lane in the Village. Wow. You can come over here for this one. Thanks for your participation in the earlier.
I didn't know it was gonna be so
Application.
popular today.
Well, you know, you're involved in all this extracurricular activity going on here.
Okay, who's this?
Penniman's Point Limited Partnership.
Okay. Thanks for hearing me this morning. You should have in your packet a drawing showing a request to build a catwalk into a Penniman's Cove, which is an offshoot of Shinnecock Bay. Just for the board's information, the upland portion of this has already been built. It was built under permits from the Village of Quogue and the New York State DEC. And then after that was done, the owner asked me to amend those permits to extend this kayak. Now, I think this came before the board a while back, and there was a question about the relationship between this dock and the adjacent dock, and also with regards to whether this had the proper separation with regard to the Blue Book. And so I prepared this diagram so I could show you the distance between the two permitted docks. The one was not built, but it did get a permit from this board for that configuration. And as you can see, there's a significant distance between those two structures, so there's no potential for interference in the use of both of them. The other thing had to do with the proximity to the property line.
That's a problem, yeah.
And so what I did was I looked at the subdivision map as well as the survey. So this is a riparian deed. It runs to the high water line of Penniman's Cove or Shinnecock Bay. So that is actually, the mean high water line is actually the boundary of the property. And we're more than 10 feet from any of the boundaries. So we comply with the Blue Book separation requirement because the riparian deed places the mean high water line in a way that creates a boundary on that, would be, I think, the northern boundary of the property. So, and other than that, it's pretty, it's simply a
You
catwalk.
calculate that?
Mark, maybe you can weigh in on that.
Yeah, I remember looking at this a couple times. What was it, like 110-foot catwalk or something? It was a monster catwalk over like wetlands and like a little forest.
655 feet.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
He was really big, yeah.
Well, that's the upland portion, which I said is permitted
Yeah.
and built.
That's
Right.
The 10-foot thing is, I don't wanna,
And then on GIS, I do remember it was, if you can pull it up on GIS, there was, when you looked at it that way, and the extended property line of the neighbor there did look like it went over.
We're back on this one again?
Yeah, that's it there.
so what are
I remember it was close. You had it angled out there also, I
Right,
remember,
right.
which was better. But it's up to the board to decide whether or not it's.
Well, I
It's
think it
over
has
the
to do
10 foot.
with the property lines, and the mean high water is the property line, and because this is a curved shoreline, if you take the property to is that to the west, I guess, and it's a cove, so to extend one or more property lines strictly along the axis that comes from the upland, is not appropriate. The object in a curved setting like that is what they call the rule of pi, where you extend them to the center of the coved area, and everybody gets their fair share of access. So, I mean, if all you did was extend the property line on the left side of this property, just extended that along its axis,
Yeah, but that's not necessarily the property line. We own the water.
Right.
We own the property under the water.
That's correct.
So in order for you to make that pie to work, like is that how you're trying to gain the 10 foot on either side? Basically, is utilizing our property.
Well, the application utilizes trustee property no matter which way we put it.
Yeah.
Whether we put it directly at the very end of this pie-shaped property.
When they're dying for a dock here, is that?
Well,
what
it's a catwalk, really.
So
So based on this, so this is
This
What are
is
you
a
doing here?
really unique. Yeah,
here's your property lines, right?
yeah. This property over here ends right here, and this property ends here. So,
Did this look to be violative of our regulations, Mark?
Well, if you were extending the other property line, you could say it was, because it's angled out in front of where that other property line be extended. Last time I checked on GIS.
I mean, even every other application that we've ever had has never allowed anything going in front of the 10 foot of the other property.
But it is, it's a minimal, and it's angled off to the side, so
never even gonna see
technically,
it.
yeah.
Is there a way to differentiate this based on the circumstances? Because I don't wanna have a, this is, because the 10-foot becomes problematic for us.
I understand that.
Which we,
Why can't they just dead end it right on the beach?
Oh, that's where it is right now. They'd like to get into the water. What I would say to you is that the nearest
They
state
can't
Supreme
walk
Court.
down the beach?
Yeah, they can. Okay, but they have a riparian right of access, and they'd like to have it.
Well, they
But I-
have it already.
Well, they'd like to have it. The ability to wharf out is a riparian right, and they'd like to exercise
As long
that
as you're
right.
not over the other person's.
Exactly right. So what I would suggest to your council and to the board is, there's a case called Perico versus Weinstein. where the New York State Supreme Court has ruled that in a situation such as this, the rule of the pie is what is applied. And the case is very clear. They go through the evaluation of it, and if you'd like me to lay that out on this parcel, I'd be happy
See,
to
the thing
do
is,
that.
I think what we wanna do is, because like Eddie said, it is minimal where you're at right now. And it's just that in other areas, we do have a problem because people are trying to push things to the left and to the right because they don't wanna look at the neighbors, and it becomes a problem. I think the rule of pie, and I do like pie, you know, but I think that we also wanna use the rule of common sense. Right, common sense. So if we can kind of do the pie with the common sense there somehow, and not create a dangerous precedent of, well, they did this here.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because
Well,
that's where we.
Can I ask you, I know the Army Corps has a different standard. What, did you get their permit?
That permit, both the DEC and the Corps permit went in at the same time as you got it. I expect I'm gonna hear back from them. I think maybe what.
Because I know they have a 15-foot
They want 5
setback.
more.
Yeah, I think they're gonna actually be fine with this because the mean high water is what controls the property line. But what I would suggest, and what I will do, is I will take that Errico versus Weinstein case, I will apply the criteria that the court established and lay it out on this.
I think that
site
would be
plan.
good if you could do that, because this needs to be differentiated as a unique situation that you're pointing out. I think is really important. So if you can
Well,
do that.
See, I do have an issue, if you wanna go straight out further, I feel that, you know, the character of the area and the fishing that goes on there, going further out to the west, I believe, would be problematic. Putting it where you're proposed right now would be the board would agree, would be the best, siting of the,
Well, I think he needs to do what he says.
let's give us the information and we can make a better decision.
I'll make a drawing and lay
Like
it
to see
out,
visually.
and I think that makes sense.
I think that's the way.
And you can email that over to our Joe Lombardo, our special counsel.
Do you have a citation on that case?
Well, yeah, I'll send you the case.
Yeah, if you could send
Okay,
that.
please.
Yeah.
Aaron,
It's
if
a
you
good- it's
send
a-
it to me too, if you don't
it's a
mind,
good-
thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
This way we can get some
you know,
differentiation here.
This has been a problematic, thing for us with these docks on these small pieces of property or pie-shaped pieces of property. So,
Well, as I said before, we're kind of running out of big pieces of property, so now we're into the small pieces
Yeah.
of property.
Devil is in the details.
Yeah.
This is also, and also forward to both attorneys and the board, the OGS, Office of General Services, who owns manages the underwater land for the state of New York, has a whole series of how you allocate dock space in varying situations. And I've used it many times over the years, and I found it to be a very valuable, so I'll send that along as well, just so you can see it. Because believe it or not, there's a half a dozen different ways to do this.
well, I don't want us
Or
to
not
set
do
a
it.
precedent that we're gonna be sorry for moving in the
Well,
Yeah, no,
future.
I'm not thrilled with it, but I understand. that-
Well, let's look at it,
Yeah.
look at it, because it needs to be set aside from, it's a unique situation. I think it needs to be seen as that, because you don't wanna set the precedence, you wanna be able to.
We gotta make sure that we're not setting a
That's
precedent.
my point.
Yeah.
That's my point. That's why I want him to provide that. That's why council's gonna look at that. And that's why I said, this is great. I like pie, but common sense also needs to come into play.
All right, will do. Thank you all for your time this morning.
Yep.
Thank you.
And thank you for your information at the other
Yes.
I'm glad
two,
I was here.
issues. All right,
We have, that's all you have today?
That's
it.
Well, that's very Yeah.
yeah, we're gonna hold it
Gonna
until
hold
we,
that for-
Aaron's gonna get us some
we
more
need to talk
information.
to council quite a bit on this one.
Yes.
What,
So next one you have,
whose is this?
is this one here?
That's
That's,
the one we were just.
that's Scott's.
Yes,
Goes into
mine.
it goes into your
Yes,
file.
Yes, mine.
Um,
He's got more stuff coming.
See.
Your second one.
yeah, John, Gilgan, 41 Oak Lane, Hampton Bays, Ernie Spellman. He's not here?
Same,
He's not
Yeah.
here.
the same issue.
Do,
Discuss it or?
well, we've discussed it, and it was issues with the material. Correct, James? So there's still issues that we need to discuss with the, I thought we resolved most of that stuff.
Was this the one that had the big fetch and they're just refacing the bulkhead?
Yeah, you guys looked at the bulkhead and you were good with the bulkhead, but there was the
Something
pier,
missing.
the pier, this is the pier.
It's replaced 118 feet of bulkhead using Navy-style structure along with two 12-foot returns, shore guard 425 vinyl or similar marine grade and in galvanized hardware. Bulkhead will be accompanied by a 10-foot non-fertilization buffer zone backfilled of approximately 30 yards of clean sand along with island natural gravel and native vegetation grasses to the engineered plans. They propose to install a 4 by 100 foot long open grate decking, access to the bay with the engineered plans. Pier will be constructed using non-treated green heart and tropical lumber. Along with marine grade galvanized hardware, there will be 2 sets of tie-off piles, one on the east and one on the west side of the pier. We also propose a 4-foot by 30-foot grade level ramp from the slope backyard leading through the non-fertilization buffer. We will install pass and repass ladders on the bulkhead next to the bulkhead. So pretty much, I think we got everything we need there.
Do we have the plantings good, like the plant spacing and all that determined? And what species?
That part I don't know.
And then also, this wasn't the one we had a wrestling match with there was a deck before.
No.
No, I think it's all, this was Blue Book compliant, this one here? It's all Blue Book compliant, this one here.
Just the plans for the pier. You have the plans for
I
the
thought-
pier stand?
I thought we thought we didn't have them, but we did have them, I thought we have the plans for
Well,
the
I
pier.
don't have them up here, so you have to.
This is the,
I have them over.
I thought we, cleared this up.
yeah, there's an engineered stamp plans right there.
On the pier?
Bulkhead, wait, stuck together. Bulkhead,
What's that right there?
there's the
There's
pier,
the pier.
there's the pier.
Stamp?
Yep,
This sheet's stamped. Actually, yeah, I see.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a stamp.
Yep.
Yeah. For what this is,
that's the pier.
licensed professional engineer.
Orlando, he's an engineer.
And you're good with the pier itself?
Yes.
Length and everything?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, you saw that, yeah.
We have everything here then.
That's,
And there's no mention of treated lumber in here. So
it's-
that was the one of the other sticking points, so I like to advance it.
see Charlotte's indicating it's Blue Book compliant. So-
Okay.
That was my only worry, just not having it, it's not in here. so
Yeah.
that's why-
No,
Well,
we,
we'll have to scan that.
Charlotte's gonna scan it in.
Yep.
All right,
so we're good to go then.
okay, so advance that. So now we have Peconic. Wait, yeah, that's the only one we have for that person. Now we have Peconic Environmental, which is 361 Dune Road, Bridgehampton.
Good morning.
straightforward. They just wanted, to increase the rows of fencing from 2 to 5. There's no infringement on the access and egress on the Urson side, so I don't see a problem with it myself.
Okay.
Advance.
Did I answer that correct?
Perfect.
Did his job.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Take care. Next one well, you have one that's not coming, right?
Yeah, Harry.
Not coming, and then we have Shoreline Bulkheading, Captain's Neck Realty
Oh,
LLC.
so I had yet to do a site visit there, so and also the applicant could make it today, so I'm
It's on hold?
Hold it.
Okay, so that's on hold. We did the
45
next one.
seater. This is the recall amend. The applicant wants to shorten their catwalk and also change dimensions. So I disagree with James and Charles on this. So James, if you want,
Yeah, so shortly after you guys had approved this application, the DEC asked them to reduce the width of the both the bridge and the catwalk on the next to it by 1 foot to 4 feet instead of 5 feet, and also the length of the catwalk, I believe, as well.
yes.
So it's going to reduce the overall square foot of the project, reducing the fees. So he's looking to amend it so that you can lower the fees and be in compliance with the DEC.
So he's filing for a modification?
That's the question for the board, since it's not been.
We approved it, but we
We've
didn't.
approved it, but it hasn't been
Paid for?
given to him yet because he hasn't paid the fees.
But now we're modifying the plan.
We're just amending it to make a smaller footprint of the project.
Right. So it's
What's a?
less
The
than.
height doesn't change. But so we're getting into a money thing, so are we gonna not charge him for a modification?
That's the idea. That's the
Or
question.
are we gonna allow him just to amend it?
Yeah.
So he jumped the ball. He basically came to us before the DEC approved the project, correct?
Apparently.
What?
Yeah, they've been changing.
But normally we wait for a full approval of the DEC before they come to the Southampton
Well, was it?
trustees.
We don't necessarily wait for the DEC. We issue our
You gotta,
permit.
you gotta come up, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean,
We normally recommend that you get all the other entities before you come to us, so that way we don't have this problem, correct?
well, it doesn't.
Yeah, yeah.
It's up to that.
So
Yeah.
James, the original fee for the larger structure,
It is.
what was the fee versus the new fee for a small structure? And if it's amended,
Well, the thing is, do you have to pay a modification
Well,
fee?
the point being, we issued a permit for him to do X, which is what he asked for.
Yeah.
Whether or not he had permission from the DEC, he was asking for X. If he builds less than what the permit allowed, we certainly weren't going to we would certainly not fail him for not conforming to the permit requirement because he was within the confines that was allowed.
But he hasn't done any work yet. So.
Well, but the bottom line is that's his permit, and
Yeah, his permit is issued upon the square footage that he
right,
applied for.
yeah.
Correct.
I mean, so I wouldn't see where there would be any money owing him. I mean, if he could get the DEC
But he hasn't paid it.
if he appeals to the DEC and they give him back that foot, would he then have to come back to us and
Yeah, right.
amend and ask for that?
So we're
you know?
spending money in-house. We're spending money with our staff to amend permits here.
Yeah.
That's the way I'm looking at it. I'm
So,
not
I
looking
mean,
at it
in
as
terms of
not
issuing
being
a
a bad
refund,
guy,
sounds
not
like
being a good guy.
But the question is,
Yeah.
right, but are we modifying this now, where he's paying a?
It's not really a modification.
So he
He's allowed to-
he doesn't need a modification, is what you're saying?
Right.
So he doesn't have to pay a
allowing more-
modification fee, it's
This is
done.
one of these weird events where we're allowing more than what the DEC would be allowing. Usually it's the other way around.
He's paying for a lot more than what he's gonna put in
Yeah,
with the dimensional fees.
right.
So
Not our problem.
I don't, yeah, so I don't see
1 foot by
charging,
whatever times equals.
I don't think it's charging an amendment fee on
Well,
top of that.
we wouldn't have to amend it, yeah.
Well,
He can take our permit to the bank. The DEC is not gonna complain if he builds it according to their specs.
yeah, but he's looking to amend it so it matches, so.
He's trying to
He
save
doesn't want to pay the
himself-
dimensional fees for the bigger
Yeah.
thing without
doesn't wanna
paying
pay
for a
it.
modification
No, no,
fee.
he hasn't
So I
paid yet.
think
So
Right,
So
he
we-
needs
you
to
want us to
modify
adjust
it.
the fees,
It's
so we do have to modify it now. So we're back in working on this again.
Yeah, but it's
So the-
still costing
Our staff
it's
is having to
costing the
spend
trustees
time.
money to do.
Yeah, so then it's a modification fee and then a proper
Yes.
dimensional
If
fee.
it's
So that's how it's
Absolutely.
gotta be done. He's gotta do a modification and then we amend it to make it what it is. So he has to file for a modification since our permit is issued, and then we adjust the dimensional fees to match what we're permitting.
Which is gonna be
at that point.
substantially less
Right.
than the original,
Correct.
even with the amendment fee of $400.
I'd say that's, I'd say that's what we have to do.
It's
Okay.
modification,
Right.
charged as
That's it.
modification.
But then when we send the dock inspection down there
Matches.
to match what we permitted,
Right.
because I remember George, he did inspections in the dock.
We've had an
was-
issue before where
Yeah,
violations
George-
were issued
George was
because
of the
people
mind he
came.
had to fail it if the person built less
Right,
than what was allowed.
right.
That's right.
And I tried to explain to him that just
Right.
because they didn't
Okay, so-
build it doesn't mean
Right,
they
so
failed.
based on the fact that this is not, we approved it, but he hasn't paid and it's not out the door yet, he
Yeah.
can pay for a modification, we can amend it, go like trustee Marin said,
Yep.
the staff's gonna go back to work on it, change everything back to matching exactly,
Mhm.
and then dimensional fees will mimic what
Yeah.
picks up that day.
One
Is
will
that
offset
fair?
the other to some degree.
Alright, so we'll work with comptrollers to make sure that the fees are
Adjusted.
correct, because he's gonna be paying $500.
For
as
it-
an
right, so
outstanding- outstanding
Cause we gotta
fee,
go back to
whatever
work
it
on
is.
it, exactly.
Yeah.
And then you guys are good to advance it pending the modification paperwork?
Yes.
Yep. Okay, that's fine.
And then when we,
And stamped plans, because it's gonna be a new set of.
Right,
plans.
right,
Which I believe we have, we can take a look at that right now.
well, yeah, you don't,
You don't have to do it now, but it's
yeah,
gotta
but
be.
it's just make sure it all
So
matches.
you want it back on for the next work session then to review, or?
Yeah, I mean,
well, we,
what do you?
We don't, I don't think we need it on for the
That's
next
why I
work.
wanna pull them
I
up
don't
so
think we
you
need
guys
it back
can see
on.
them.
We've already-
stamp plans and approve it.
Yeah,
Charge
just
on
on,
the modification fee, adjust the square footage, and approved upon that we have stamped hand
Matching
plans,
that.
matching the new
Yeah.
application.
and that could go on for resolution of the stamp plan approval.
I
Yeah.
we'll put it under P.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plan,
Yep.
so
Yes.
it'll be on to the next work session.
Yes.
To review the stamp.
Yes.
plans.
And then as long as
Pending
they're
the
good,
modification paperwork.
Done.
we're good.
As
Thanks,
long as
James.
everything is acceptable
Clean.
to Charlotte and you, then we can just do what we have to do.
I see, and I saw Mr. Mack nodding his head back there, so I think he got his seal of approval as well.
Well, I live for it.
Yeah, but we're going to be,
It's kinda
but
makes
Scott,
sense, you know?
Scott, we're gonna be in the process of hiring a dock inspection person, and we're gonna have to go over all these little nuances, so we don't get glitches.
As
when
soon
we-
as later today.
I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I know that's fact, and then this costs us money.
Well, it's just,
Like-
let's just keep this in mind because we've had this
Yeah, I
situation.
know,
where
we can't-
People
yeah.
will hold a permit for a year and not pay the dimensional fees, wait for the Army Corps or the DEC, and then
Change it.
wanna not.
Amend it.
Amend it, so it's happened before and it's always been like.
Yeah, all over the map. Well, now if we've approved it, they're asking for us to approve to Council Lombardo's point. You know, we've given you what you've asked for, you know?
Now you're asking for something
Yeah,
different.
Right, so now we're back to work, to your
Yeah,
point,
but
right?
for bookkeeping
Well, it's
wise,
the inflexibility of the bookkeeping program that we have to use.
But you can't talk from there, you gotta talk
all right,
from
okay,
here.
Are we good?
yeah, I think we're good.
All right, so we're good with that.
Okay.
Okay, next one is Helen Fair from 58 South Bay Avenue in Eastport, represented by the owner, who really doesn't have to be here, you can take
Right,
this.
I spoke to her about it, and yeah, I believe we have all the stamp plans, and it was just an expired permit that we were going to be renewing. No changes to the permits.
Blue Book compliant, it was an oversight.
Right.
So we just want to make it all proper,
Mhm.
dotting i's and crossing t's, it's very important.
Right.
So this could advance.
Okay.
And then, we already did the 191, right?
We did.
Okay, so the next part, general permit applications for determination for final stamp plans. I have James Price, 28 East Rampasture Road, in Hampton Bays. Environmental permits.
All good, stamped,
Okay, see that.
advanced.
And you have Susan Rose.
Susan Rose, 14 Carmel Road, Hampton Bays. Stamp plans with that.
Good.
We're good? Okay, can advance it?
Advance that, and you've got Michael Vincent.
Michael Vincent, 111 Shore Road. That's good, stamp plans, yep.
All right,
So we're good.
concludes our
Advance.
concludes our work session agenda for this morning. We can adjourn and go to exec, and we can be on our way unless anyone has anything else. We good?
The Army Corps started pumping the coastal.
Army Corps is starting to do their work. Their setup, just as you enter the Quad Canal, there's a lot of gear there.
From the east or from the west? From the east, right?
Yeah, so if you're heading from Shinnecock and you're making your way into the Quad Canal heading west, you're gonna bump into that, and you're gonna see some equipment also on the Southampton town in the western side of Shinnecock. You're gonna see that, and you're gonna see a lot of pipes laid out because you have material getting pumped as far as west of Shinnecock Inlet, and obviously on this side as well with this part of the project. So if you're taking your boat and you're gonna make your way up and down the Quad Canal, just beware. You're gonna see a lot of equipment, and you're gonna see all kinds of pipes and things, and you're gonna want to transit that
Very
area
cautious.
very carefully, very cautiously. You're in a 6 mile an hour no wake zone as it is, so you should really pay attention. So that's a good project. They're starting to the west, and they're gonna work their way to the east, but that is underway. That project is scheduled to be finished within 2 months with all the logistics and whatnot. Thousands and thousands of cubic yards of fine, nice sand to get our intracoastal waterway back to specifications as per the Army Corps of Engineers. It's H&L Contracting that has been awarded that contract, and they are diligently working on it. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah.
So, to the public,
Were they gonna be putting the sand up at Tiana Beach on the?
there's gonna
They
be
are
some
right
going
now.
to Tiana Bay side, is going
As
to,
we talk, they're pumping it.
right, they're pumping over there.
Any more in front of it?
Fish,
Yeah.
yeah, they're gonna.
Yes,
that's-
they are.
Yes, they are.
About 38,000 cubic yards of it. The lion's share of that project is gonna be,
In front of that dude?
is gonna be in what they call Willesee, west of Shinnecock Inlet area. That's where the lion's share of the project is gonna be. Some of it is going to, it's gonna go to Tiana Bay side. Some of it is gonna bolster up some trustee properties that are like south of the Shagwong Marina, in that whole area where you've got a bunch of road ends and properties there of the trustees to bolster that up. So there's three spots there. This is an Army Corps project. You're changing an Army Corps project. It's literally an act of Congress to do that, so that it cannot go out
Can't
of,
deviate.
it cannot go out of what is deemed to be the federal, recognized channels, and this is what the project's gonna be. You have some, great, obviously, local knowledge that is directing this and working on this, and it's been a long time coming for our community to get this project, advocacy by this board for years and years to finally get to this point. Because these areas are intracoastal, they needed to be dredged, and you had people that at certain tides, mid to low, that were hitting bottom there. So this is really important for our community to have done. But you do, right now, you have to be careful if you're out there running around, pay attention and don't get caught up in any of that gear.
And the Shinnecock locks are fixed.
Which is, and coincidentally, the same contractor, H&L,
Yeah.
fixed that canal locks, and I think he did it in a really good time. I know
Yeah.
we thought the estimates were gonna be a lot greater, so it's always better to beat your estimates. And that is a big help, because you find out, how, badly the Shinnecock Canal locks affects commerce, especially at this time of the year. Aside from everybody wanting to go fishing or cruising and recreationally, you have people that make decisions on where they're going to have their services done and their winter haul outs done. And as you got the telephone calls from people and the emails, you saw how greatly this waterway does affect commerce, and not to mention recreation and fishing. And being that we're such a maritime community, thanks to the county exec and everybody at the county that was able to get on that right away, get good contractors that knew what they were doing, and get us back in business. It even greatly affected our pump out program because we rely on the county and the points to the north of the canal locks to pump out our pump out boats to make sure that we don't have that effluent going into our bays. So it has an environmental effect to us as well. So it's that ripple effect of things that occur. Maybe some folks don't realize how one thing affects another thing, but thankfully it's all good now.
Yep.
Everything's good. So that being said, we have some executive discussions to have, and if there's not anything more, I'll entertain a motion to. Good. I'll make a motion to adjourn, seconded by Trustee Barrett. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, let's go into exec for the discussion of contracts, litigation, and personnel issues. We'll see everybody this afternoon.